shot. Hey, what's good, Jivas, and welcome back to another episode of the Jiva Talks. I'm your host, Nitai, aka Jiva, and we are back with episode 12. Yes, episode 12. As I said in the previous podcast episode, I wanted to have Mamu Thakur over for a chat on the topic of guilt. So we ended up having a conversation. This is about a month ago, right before we left Mayapur. And it was a really cool talk. Our call was about like 3 hours long. So I was having a hard time deciding what to add on the podcast, where to cut and how to edit it and whatever. But it ended up looking really nice. And I decided to separate it into two different episodes. So this is going to be part one of this two-part series. And in this particular episode, we're going to be, if I remember correctly, we're going to be speaking about institutional guilt tripping, the apparent sometimes that lack of personalism that we receive from those in positions of power, something I like to call also selective punishment or chastisement, and something else. What am I forgetting? Yeah, the importance of studying Shastra to be able to discriminate in terms of how we associate with others. So anyway, stay tuned. Check it out and let me know what you think. Thank you. Mama, thank you for being on the show again. Makes me really happy that we're doing this together. Another episode of Honest Sangha on the Jiva Talks.
Yeah, no worries. But no, thank you. Thank you for having me on again. And just to preface this for anyone who's listening, it's been a long week for me. I think you were saying also for yourself. So if I'm a bit spaced out, please forgive me. But hopefully something of substance.
Let's get right into it. So let's see how we start. So I think we've been talking about this again for quite a long time. And guilt is a very tricky subject. I guess a lot of the things that are considered guilt are often labeled as taboo, but it's something that most of us experience at different points of our spiritual journey, and many times. And I feel that there are little to no resources on how to deal with it. You know?
Yeah, and it's also hard, I think, guilt, because in one sense we are guilty. Like we're in the material world. We're not in the material world because we're saints and we're nitya siddhas, we're in the material world because we have sinful desires. So in one sense, the guilt is like, it's right that we're guilty, but then in some sense, it's not productive for our advancement. Sometimes it can be, the complete opposite of that. So yeah, I mean, finding that balance of, I don't know if it's a good term or not, but like healthy guilt, like, versus unhealthy, like self-obsessed kind of guilt, because I feel like a lot of our acharyas, bhajans, like their prayers and everything are touching on the guilt, like their position.
All right, yeah.
Or our position in the material world, but it kind of also quickly reflects back then and jumps onto Krishna's mercy and, the mercy of Vaishnavas as well. But, yeah, sometimes I feel like the emphasis can be on guilt tripping devotees or, hammering down how fallen we are instead of focusing on the positive. But, yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, guilt is necessary also to keep us in line, like to kind of like help us measure where we're at in our journey, and if we've messed up, and it helps us see or understand whether we're following what we say we're following properly, right? But yeah, I like that point that you mentioned, that we're guilty already being in the material world. So like I was speaking about institutions in the previous episode, I think that yeah, we will all experience guilt at different point of spiritual journey. So it's just part of the process. And I think that we could do much better as the community, as devotees, as an institution, to maybe not focus too much on that blaming, on the guilt tripping. And I guess it's just it does much more harm than, helping us progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're completely right with that. It can be more harmful than good. And I also think it's the duty of everyone that has some kind of understanding about Siddhanta to be very sensitive in how we're presenting that Siddhanta to the people in the world. Because yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be helpful to encourage a little bit of self-reflection and
Right.
what we're actually doing here, which is, yeah, like a little bit, okay, I'm not necessarily the amazing, incredible, you know, sadhu or sadhvi that I think I am, you know? And then sometimes actually even slightly reflecting on that can be detrimental. It can be like too harsh and off-putting. So like, yeah, what I'm saying is having a sensitive approach to how we're presenting Krishna consciousness and bhakti to others.
Yes,
Sometimes these negative things can be good.
yeah. I mean, I was saying that about the importance of striking a balance. I was reflecting on the previous episode, I think episode 9, where we were speaking about authenticity and how it's
Hmm.
important to, yeah, just to balance things out. And what I'm trying to say is that I think we often focus on, the great parts of being Hare Krishna, the positive aspects. We were saying before,
Hmm.
when we were talking about this, the chant and be happy, everything's good. And
Hmm.
as I open the previous episode, episode 10, it's like when we join the Society of Devotees, everything looks like, what we've been looking for, this blaze of everybody looks perfect, everybody's chanting, dancing, everybody looks happy. And it's okay. I think it does give us that shelter, or at least that motivation that we're all looking for, to feel that we're we're taking the right step in our lives. But the problem is that, by just choosing to live life with those ideals, we forget that bad things will happen. And we think that, oh, the journey is going to be a fun ride full of joy and bliss. And I mean, don't get me wrong. It's, we always hear devotees say, oh, it's a process, is joyfully perform, every step is a dance, and all of those things. But it is not artificial. I was reading Jaiva Dharma with Anurati on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance there. I think it was whatever
Hmm.
recently, and there was a part saying that all these kind of like symptoms that he was listing, they
Mm,
are spontaneous, and um, we basically, what I'm trying to say is that these things can't be forced. So we can't
mm,
expect to always be on a constant high, especially when we just join the spiritual society. And I think that often, because we enter Krishna consciousness with that idea that everything outside sucks, therefore everything within the institution is perfect. When we make mistakes, or
mm,
yeah, when we fall from our, if we
mm,
break the principles, if we
mm,
can fulfill our promises, or I don't know, keep Ekadashi or chant X amount of rounds that we promise, uh, we feel extremely guilty, to the point that we feel that, we're incapable of atonement, and that
mm.
God hates us, and there's no way to repent. And then the society also contributes to that, making you feel like shit, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that I mean that's actually a really good point that you're saying. Like we when we look at the institutions or these sanghas in the beginning, we see that they're happy and at least externally everything looks really good. So we're inspired to join, but then what's the motivation for us joining?
Right.
It's still I'm joining this because then I will be happy. It's not, and then it's like in one sense, that's okay. It's okay to be in the Sangha and you're doing it, even if I'm still in the center because it's like sattvic activities and it's God centered. But, when we find out more and more, when we start studying our Siddhanta more, it's actually like these devotees that are real devotees that are actually finding happiness in Krishna consciousness. They're happy because they're not putting themselves in the center. I'm not doing this because I'm happy. I'm doing it because it will make Krishna happy. Therefore, whatever happens around me, whether it's because it's the institution or whatever, Sangha or whatever, like, it doesn't matter if it's directly affecting me and my body and my mind, because me and my body and my mind aren't my primary focus. It's Krishna. So it's like, it's actually such a high standard, you know, like Prahlad says, I think I think when he's talking to his classmates, that as soon as someone endeavors for their own happiness, their own suffering begins. And
Correct.
there's also, I believe Prabhupada's brought up the point as well about how bhakti actually begins from the platform of being like Brahman onwards, like basically being selfless onwards,
Selfless, yeah.
you know. And so um, then it's kind of we're brought into it's a bit of a conflicting situation because the standard of real happiness and bhakti is coming from a position of being selfless, and I'm not selfless, and most of the people that join the institution aren't selfless. So then we're all together in this group of people that are inherently not necessarily yet sadhus and selfless, and we have all these anarthas and everything, and it's coming together. And no wonder there's abuse, and no wonder there's trauma. But then how are we going to deal with that? Are we going to push it under the rug? Are we going to address it? Are we going to keep being superficial? Are we going to be happy with our external show of bhakti? Or are we going to try and go deeper? Or are we going to try and be, you know, actually sincere? Because I'm sure Krishna will test us, with all of the things that come
Definitely,
up
yeah.
with institutions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we join just so we can be in an institution and be happy in an institution and be happy just with like, adrenaline rushing through our veins when we smash the cartels in the kirtan? Or are we actually, or are we actually trying to become selfless and put ourselves actually in the background and put Krishna in the front? So, yeah, I don't know. Do you have some, um, I believe you have some stories about people that have been feeling a lot of guilt.
Like I've gotten so many messages recently about this whole thing, like, oh, Prabhu, but um ISKCON is a big hospital, everybody's sick. And I feel that a lot of devotees just use as an excuse, like, okay, what does that mean? Like, okay, we're all sick. So then, like, how does that render my argument invalid? And like,
Yeah,
what do we want to achieve by saying that? Like, okay, if we're all sick, then it includes everybody. So
yeah,
of course, some devotees might have to take the position of superiors and whatnot. Maybe they've been longer in the movement or whatever. They're
hmm
more experienced than you in this particular service. But
hmm
because we've started this hypothesis of like, okay, it's a big hospital and everybody's sick. We're all patients. Um,
hmm
then at least we should be able to, those in positions of power and those subordinates should understand that even though this person is higher than me in terms of the society, um, he can make mistakes. And I mean, that's the basics of, I think it was in the Ishopanishad, right? Like the 4 defects.
hmm
But it's somehow that
yeah,
after we've been in the movement for more than 2 or 3 years, and we forget about those basic things, and then we just get so caught up in what the society has to offer, um, that it's alluring. It's yeah.
yeah. I hear you. I hear you, man. I mean, I wonder as well, to what extent is that excuse for the mistreatment of devotees valid? The excuse of we're all in a hospital. I mean, okay, well, if someone rapes someone in the movement, are you just going to say, "Oh, well, we're all
To
sick. What do you expect?" Or if someone just misses 16 rounds, oh, it's okay, we're all sick. Or if someone, molests a child, or if someone like
it's
steals a bunch of money, to
exactly,
what extent is it
and I
valid?
feel that excuse is only used in a particular scenario. It's like, oh, the senior devotee has fell down with a disciple in Thailand, or whatever, or is sleeping with prostitutes.
Yeah,
Oh, but we're all sick,
yeah,
Prabhu. Don't criticize the Vaishnav. He's given his life to the movement. All right, cool, fair enough. Okay, but then everybody else can get judged. Um,
yeah.
and it's like, again, it's like this whole, I don't know, I mean, I'm going to get on a different track, which is kind of more in connection to the previous episode, but it's this whole thing, like, what puzzles me is that we expect everybody to be the same in the same spiritual level, and that's
hmm
not going to happen, and that's not sustainable, you know
mm
so
mm
using that excuse, I think it just, again, in connection to guilt, it just opens up that space for understanding, oh, this is the standard, like, the authorities are going to be judged with a different standard, I'm going to be judged with this
mhm.
standard, so I need to keep pretending. Otherwise, I'll feel guilty, and the society and the senior devotees will make me feel guilty as well for not being able to
Yeah.
complete my rounds or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it really brings up the point of developing the knowledge to be able to discriminate. Um, like you were just saying before, different levels of Vaishnavas and the Sangha around us, what it actually means to be in Sadhu Sangha, how to discriminate, where I'm at in this world, you know. I believe you
Correct.
were talking
Yeah.
before, touching on something to do with, being able to see what's happening in the world around us. Um, yeah, and I think that's all involved. And again, like, um, developing Sambandha Tattva Gyan, who am
Yes.
I? What
Yes.
is happening in the world around me? Who is God? What are his various energies? And what's my relation to it? And, I think foundationally, again, like we were touching on the last, episode, being real with ourselves, but then, um, yeah, also hand in hand studying Shastra and not being too complacent, but also being, not too hard on ourselves.
Too hard on ourselves. Yes. And I think a lot can be said about that. Um, just wrap up that part about the society being a hospital.
Mhm.
Often devotees, when they use that excuse, they often say, "Oh, Prabhu, it doesn't matter, and I just anyways chant Hare Krishna." And I think sometimes we just brush things off easily like that, or just sweep things under the rug because we don't want to. Um, what's the word, like, accept that bad things happen. Acknowledge that there's a dirty, dark side of it, and
Yeah.
one of the things is that, I mean, since we're talking about institutions also in the last few weeks, and there's so much to unpack on that. In connection to guilt, is that sometimes we fail to recognize, even if we are not enabling like guilt tripping, we fail to understand that or recognize, that it's an institutional tool, like leaders using guilt as a
Yeah.
manipulation or coercion tool.
And I think it's a good point as well when people, um, start to deny certain things are happening in the institution. For me, that is a sign that their ego is too much intertwined with the institution. It's like they don't necessarily have their own individual relationship with Krishna, or they are maybe not so close with their own guru. So their ego is just like it's mixed with the institution. So then when something happens in the institution, oh no, 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 because that makes me look bad also. Instead of like, I'm here trying to pursue truth. I'm here trying to pursue a relationship with Krishna and real Vaishnavas. So I'm trying to pursue truth. So if this institution or this sangha represents truth, sure, okay, I'll gravitate towards that. But if this one is doing things that are maybe not representing truth or not representing our Siddhanta,
Questionable.
I have no problem yeah, like I have actually no problem addressing that, because I'm not here just to be part of an institution. I'm here to pursue truth in my relationship with God. So,
Beautiful. Yeah. And
uh,
that's the thing. It's like we, like how I was saying in the previous episode, on institutions, is like, personally speaking, I never joined any particular um, society, mission, or institution because of
mhm,
what I could get from it. And if you see, when the institution puts out, programs, their PR campaigns, their preaching programs, it does look very attractive. And of
mhm,
course, a lot of effort, money, manpower, resources are put into those external activities that definitely, it makes it really attractive. But I mean, another topic could be about talking that maybe we're reaching out to the wrong people, the people that are easily impressed by these things, who are not really pursuing the truth, who aren't really pursuing, um, who don't have a desire to. I'm not talking about high stuff like Krishna Bhakti and all these things, but at least a desire to
mhm,
make their lives better, because that's what moved me towards, or make me gravitate towards spirituality, because not going to talk about my background right now, but I came from
Mhm.
particular background, and life took me here and there, and then I had some. Again, it was not like fully selfless and whatnot, but I had some initial desire to, find a genuine spiritual tradition, which
Mhm.
Gaudiya Vaishnavism has a lot of these things. It's a genuine spiritual tradition, but the way we present it, and I was talking to a friend yesterday about it. It's like it looks, it can look cultish, and it doesn't have to be. You know, and
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be like that because it is a legit spiritual process. But yeah, we could talk about maybe we're not reaching out to the right audience. That could be it. But also the effort that the society is putting on creating these big programs and all that might be the reason why. I don't know. I mean, I'm speculating, but it could possibly be that we're focusing on external, so we're attracting people with the idea of what I can get from this and how I can become um, like name, fame, and all that. How can I become somebody? Which is something I also addressed in the previous episode. That it's like, yeah, it's not about. It's never been about spirituality. Maybe religion, maybe religiosity, but spirituality.
Mhm.
It's yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think it's, you just saying maybe we're preaching to the wrong people, or maybe we're preaching to people or attracting people that are um, more attracted to maybe surface level spiritual life, which is okay. I mean, better
Yeah,
that than nothing.
of
And
course.
it could also just be a point of reflection, like maybe I need to then, I'm seeing that these people are doing this and this sangha, and it's disappointing for me, or it's not fulfilling for me. So then maybe it's time, maybe I search in another sangha for something. Maybe I go, maybe I, and that might mean maybe just a different sangha in a different place within ISKCON, or it might mean even outside of ISKCON, God
Correct. Yeah.
forbid me say something so sinful, but
Oh,
we're all,
blacklisted.
I mean, we're in a, we're in a personal, we're in a movement that's propagating personalism. And yet at the same time, we're saying one size fits
One
all.
size
But
fits all. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we are. I mean, I'm not meaning to say that there's universal principles that, if everyone generally follows, that it's helpful. But at the same time, you know, how can I just, for some reason, that's mind-boggling to me that, again, we're in a personal movement, yet it's so much like cookie cutter. Everyone has to be this one way, and you can't be outside of ISKCON. And if you're outside of ISKCON, you're fallen, and you're not getting the mercy like we are inside of ISKCON. Yet inside of our perfect movement is rape and abuse and so many issues with management. And if I bring it up, I'm a horrible person, and I just should be seeing the positive. I have to say though, like, I'm not against institutions. I definitely see the purpose of institutions. I see the purpose of Sadhu Sangha, but I don't want to beat around the bush and lie about what I see, you know.
Correct. Yeah. But I think also to come to that point is that it requires a lot of introspection and
Mm,
reflection. Yeah, yeah, and that requires putting the ego aside, and recognize that even though we've been connected to any institution for X amount of years, like we're still maybe we're not making the same mistakes we did. Maybe we're not being challenged or tempted by Maya in the same way we did before we joined or when we were, rookies or whatever. But we can't forget that we will always be tested and we will always have different challenges, and we have to just be aware of those things. And I feel that we get so because we get so carried away, thinking that everything's perfect, that the society is perfect, then um, we don't engage in self-reflection. We're not aware of the things that the societies are doing, the abuse that happens within institutions, and we become victims of abuse and manipulation.
mhm. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
no, yes, I was just gonna. I just thought about a story that I wanted to share.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
So she's talking about guilt. One of my followers, I don't like to use that word, but a friend on Instagram, told me when I was just collecting feedback and just asking people around for their thoughts. There's a story of one of my friends who couldn't follow Ekadashi, and it's not a single, an isolated case. Some
Mm,
devotees are unable to follow Ekadashi for a variety of reasons. I can't remember what was her particular reason. Um, when I was when I had an office job, when I was doing the whole corporate gig, there were times that I couldn't follow Ekadashi for a variety of reasons. So I understand, and I don't think I asked her why exactly, but anyways, the point is that her counselor, ashram leader, whatever the title is, started making her feel like shit for not being able to follow Ekadashi, and
mm.
the ashram leader was requesting everybody to stay online on a Zoom call till, how you're supposed to like stay in Ekadashi, like awake the whole night and chant. So he was
Oh
expect
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So he was expecting everybody to do that online and chant and do kirtan. And this person was like, she was like, I live with non-devotee parents. I can't do that. I have school tomorrow, and I just couldn't follow Kadashi for X, Y, and Z reason. I can't remember why. And instead of understanding, or at least asking why and how, if I'm your ashram leader, how can I support you? To, maybe I send you 1 kilo of quinoa or something so you can, I don't know. I don't know. Like, you're supposed to be personal with this person, right? To understand their
Yeah,
particular struggle. But because
yeah,
she stood out, like, you're different from all of us right now because our group is following and you're not following. Therefore, you will pollute others into not following Ekadashi. Or, if I treat you with respect and, as a human and I'm understanding, then it would open up the door for other people not to follow Ekadashi and I'll lose my control. So I felt that it was more about, obviously, I don't know the leader, but it obviously felt that it was more about him, his group, and his control of the situation. And
mm,
she reached out and she was like devastated because I think they have like three different groups for like reading and whatever chanting, and she was kicked out of 2 out of 3 groups, and people were already telling, like other devotees within that sangha were already um, pointing fingers and basically saying that she was, the devil in the flesh because she couldn't follow Ekadashi. And it says that if you don't follow
oh my
Ekadashi on
God.
the night of, Yogini Ekadashi and whatnot, you're going to go to hell because of this, whatever.
Yeah, that's horrendous. That's absolutely horrendous. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think again, it makes me think of the need for sensitivity and personalism because it's like, what? Here's someone in the sangha who's struggling with something, right? So, what's the best thing to do? Insult them and make them feel bad because obviously that's going to make them want to do it. What? Like, I don't understand how has that ever helped in the long run? Guilt tripping someone and abusing them and singling them out and making them feel like absolute shit. Um, how has that ever helped someone in the long run? I mean, I'm sure there's even quotes from Prabhupada where he said, I, I think I posted this a while ago, but, it was in regards to one of the teachers, I believe in Mayapur. And it was a Mataji at the time, I think. And he was telling her that there's need to enforce the positive
Mm,
because only enforcing negative won't actually stop people from doing the negative. We need to enforce positive Krishna conscious activities, you know, and also in the sense of being sensitive about how we're instructing people. There's one thing that comes to mind that's maybe also sensitive and might be frowned upon potentially in certain sanghas. Oh, we have a little. There's one instance where someone came to Prabhupada and told him that I want to get a divorce or something like that. I'm not attracted to my partner anymore, whatever it was. Paraphrasing here to the max, but um, basically Prabhupada told this person, okay, you can divorce. And then Shruti Kirti was his servant at the time and was asking, like wondering the whole day, why did Prabhupada say that? Prabhupada's always said divorce is the worst thing. There's not even a question of divorce. It will never happen. Right.
Right.
And then he plucked up the courage to ask Prabhupada in the evening, why is it that you told this devotee that he should get you gave him the okay to get a divorce? I thought it was the most sinful thing and really bad. And Prabhupada said, well, he was going to do it anyway. So I instructed him, in a different direction, because the worst offense is that he disobeys the order of a guru than just getting a divorce. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's okay. But, my point is that sometimes the right thing to do might externally, look bad,
Right.
in terms of our understanding, but we need to maybe sometimes step back and look at the bigger picture. Is what I'm instructing going to, cause a bigger offense? Is this person going to offend their guru? Or are they going to offend Vaishnavas? Or are they going to leave the Sangha altogether? What's the best thing I can do in this situation? And it might initially maybe not look the best, but it might be better than potentially a worse, you know, outcome.
Yeah, I mean it's so crazy because that requires approaching each problem personally. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the previous episode, but I think I didn't. But what I wanted to say is that it feels as if we're easily replaceable. It's like, oh, if this person doesn't comply, if this person doesn't follow the rules, why do I need to keep investing in this particular person? And why do I need to understand his or her particular struggle or challenge? I'll just keep preaching and I'll make new devotees that are, easier to manipulate. Like to me,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, it's such a shame. I mean, because that's happened to me as well in the past. And, I wonder if that's what Krishna thinks, or, I wonder if that's what certain devotees think. Does God think, oh, fuck it, I don't give a shit about these Jivas. I'm just, why do I even, I don't care about them actually at all. Whether they come back to me or not, I don't really care actually. Or is that the opinion of certain Vaishnavas or certain aspiring Vaishnavas, should I say?
Because
Because, go ahead.
yeah, I'm just saying it's just a big disconnect from what we present when we want to convince others to convert or to join our mission or whatever. We present ourselves as welcoming, all embracing, personal, extremely personal. Here's a cookie from the deity. Sit here. What's your name? Join our program. What you do? We buy the books, but all of that it's just gone after. I don't know. Like, I don't know when it happened to me. Probably after 5 years. I have to say that I had a really good, solid 5 years in the beginning, I think, but it's depends on your community, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's just so crazy that the whole
Yeah.
personal element is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm sure actually everyone has those kinds of stories, when they first met devotees. Here's Mangalarti sweets and so much time and so much understanding, and oh, you can only chant one round. That's
It's okay, but
amazing.
wow, bro, it's okay.
One round? Oh my God. Oh, you bought a Bhagavad Gita? You haven't even read it? You just bought it? Oh my God, so amazing. And then, for 6 months it's like that, 1 year it's like that. And then it just one day switches. And in one sense I get it from a degree of like, okay, from a perspective of like, okay, we need to encourage people to step up. But another sense, it's like, shouldn't we just also just be encouraging each other all the time to whatever capacity we're all able to actually realistically be at? You know, like if someone can only chant one round for 30 years, better they chant that one round than just make them feel like shit and then they leave and don't chant anything.
Right,
Do you know what I
right,
mean?
right, right,
And
right.
I don't mean to encourage a lesser standard, but I just mean to encourage people from where they're at and at the same time be aware of what the highest standard is and not diminish that, but also
Right.
be real.
I mean, yeah, I get your point that obviously we're not going to be treated like we're guests anymore, right? And we're expected to move up. But
Mhm.
mm, I think the problem that I have is with the necessity of everybody who joined this batch, for example, to just be exactly the same, because then the room for personalized approach gets diminished. And you see, like, with temple presidents, with leaders, with gurus, like, it's just like one instruction, one size fits all. uh
There's this that approach kind of isn't really helpful for a lot of us. Maybe for a time it's helpful, but then at a certain point when when we kind of like reach level, it's
yeah,
not really helpful anymore.
yeah, because the rules are there, obviously, and we're meant to follow them, right? But I think, because we have different challenges, we come from different backgrounds, we're conditioned by different cultures, etc. We will have other challenges that might not be directly spoken or written in the books, right? And that's why we need the
Mhm.
Vaishnav. We need the compassion of the Vaishnav to understand,
Mm.
this person is going through this particular situation. Like, another story
Mm.
just comes to mind is that, this person had, a boyfriend who was a non-devotee, and
Mhm.
he was supporting my friend, and he was a quite supportive boyfriend, and he was actually quite interested in Krishna consciousness, but maybe he wasn't ready to take the next step or whatever, or you know. So when the congregational leaders found found out that this girl was dating this boy, right? She was immediately labeled, like, you are dating a karmi. It's gonna be bad. Oh, and he doesn't belong to this, your culture. All these people, they're only gonna leave you, and it's gonna be bad. And he's an undevotee, and it's like always the judgment without context. And when I spoke face to face with this person, she was telling me that actually this guy was quite supportive of her journey, and eventually the authorities made everything possible for her to break up with him. And of course, because we're afraid of confrontation, we're afraid of just voicing out our opinions, because also we think it's gonna, there's this whole guilt of, oh, I'm afraid of speaking my mind out, because it's Vaishnava Parad.
Yeah. Firstly, it's just horrible because it's creating a situation. It's like someone who's very attached to something and then saying it's us or them.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you either renounce that thing that you're really attached to or will reject you, you know? And, I don't feel like that's an encouraging or inspiring or helpful way to, should we say, coach someone or, help someone with what they're going through. And, if I can give any message to anyone that's listening to this who's encouraging people with their Krishna consciousness or have people underneath them that are dependent on them, please just be sensitive to how you're presenting this, how you're presenting Al Siddhanta, how
Right.
you're presenting Srila Prabhupada, because it's just it's such a special thing. We were talking about this just before, and it's just such a shame to me to hear, people doing this, because to me that's such a disservice to Srila Prabhupada. It's such a disservice to our Guru Varga, and it's such a disservice to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because it's
Absolutely,
like
absolutely,
we
yeah.
we have this, and we're told again and again and again and again and again, we have this amazing opportunity, that Mahaprabhu's given, you know, what's that verse, about, for so long he hasn't given this thing, and then now he's come and he's given,
Which one, the Anarpita Chaim
Rajput.
Chirad?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's been so long, and then, I've heard it took me a while to actually, I think devotees, after some time, I found out that even Mahaprabhu comes in different yugas, but it's special because this Mahaprabhu is Sakshat Krishna, and only this Mahaprabhu gave Brajabhav, but other Mahaprabhus he just propagated Sankirtan, but not necessarily with an inclination towards Braja Bhakti. I've heard
Right.
this said by different Vaishnavas before in class, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, or anyone can. But again, my point is that we're told that we have this thing that's so special and so amazing, and Srila Prabhupada gave so much mercy, he gave his life and everything like that, and then we like pass it on just like we just fumble the ball. Like there's this amazing thing, and then we just like so haphazardly are just giving it to people like it's just like, if they get it, cool. If they don't, if someone gets abused here, someone gets raped here, or someone gets like mistreated here, or like a few, tens of thousands of dollars go missing here or whatever, like, who cares? Like, please, devotees, just please be sensitive with these people. They're special people. We're told that they're the most intelligent people that come to our movement. They come and learn about Krishna consciousness and learn about Raja Bhakti. But then why in the same, at the same time, do we come across like we don't give a shit? Why is this happening? I mean, maybe it's just a question. I don't have an answer, but maybe it's just a question
Yeah.
I pose myself and others that are listening. Why is this happening? That there's such a special thing, yet when we're presenting it, it's not personal, it's not sensitive, and we're coming across like we don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I don't know if I have the answer either, but just what's coming to my mind also is you're saying, oh, Prabhupada gave his life, and so maybe I'm just thinking out loud. Could potentially be that from the abuser's perspective, it could be that we are acting in such a way because we are protecting the movement.
You mean by being heavy, like
Yeah, by because I remember it just came to mind when I was younger, and also starting Krishna consciousness. I remember certain devotees in my life who were proud of being known as the heavy one. They were like, oh, I'm the scary brahmachari, like I am the kitchen manager.
Yeah.
And again, it's this whole identifying with like, okay, we're giving up all this tags and labels from the outside world, but now I've accepted the position of kitchen commander. Like, what the hell is that, kitchen commander?
Yeah.
And it's so crazy. It's like what I was saying in the previous episode. And sorry, I keep going back to but I think like everything is just interconnected. But it's this whole, instead of pursuing the truth, pursuing the absolute truth, which is the highest thing, and we should know that, right? Instead, we're after titles, and we're after positions that, of course, all of us want to belong somewhere. All of us want to be recognized, and we want to be good at something. But just don't. I don't think you should satisfy that in the institution. And I said that in the previous episode. Just, I don't know. Everybody has talents and or skills that you can learn, and just do it outside, man. But then you bring that to or those expectations to the society of devotees. Then you get a little power. Then you get others empowered to rubber stamp you as kitchen commander, ashram leader, whatever. And your whole personality is that. Like that guy I was telling you when I was a kid. This guy was proud of being the heavy one. I was, the heaviest devotee in the temple, and everybody's scared of me.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting, yeah, because I think sometimes, like after Prabhupada left and there was that whole Acharya era, I think so many of these preachers were extremely heavy. One in particular is coming to mind. I'm not going to name any names, but it's like one in particular was very, very heavy, and many people follow his mood. And I don't mean to question him at all, because I think he did show in many ways that he was very dedicated. But I do question those that are trying to follow his mood, because I wonder what is their intention behind being heavy. Are they being heavy because it's like they get some power trip over just smashing people? In which case, are they being heavy because that pleases Krishna, or that's the best thing for people?
That's what I'm. Yeah,
ego trip.
That's it. Yeah.
And this point about protecting the movement, sure, 100%, that's valid. That's completely valid. But how are we protecting the movement? Are we protecting the movement by, like, for example, in my eyes, just personally, what I feel like would be the best way to protect the movement is to have a very solid, sound understanding of our Siddhanta.
Correct.
Try and encouraging others to see to whatever capacity they're able to learn and understand our Siddhanta as well. And, you know, be, be gentle with people, be sensitive with people, like maybe gently reinforce at certain times the higher standard, but then also be real and understanding and empathetic where people are at, and
Correct.
not guilt tripping them into like doing the best thing. Or, jumping from 1 round to 16 or 16 to 1 lakh, 1 lakh to 3 lakhs. It's like, if you're not chanting 3 lakhs, you're fallen or whatever. And as far as I'm concerned, we're all fallen. Mahaprabhu said, what do you say? We should be chanting the holy name all the time, which isn't just 3 lakhs. It's not a number. It's all the time. So
Yeah.
unless I'm chanting all the time, and again, all the time out of my inspiration from positive instead of just Vaidhi, whatever. Like, and again, that's not such a bad thing, but I'm saying, you know, the standard is actually very, 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 very almost unattainably high. So, what are we going to do? We're going to perpetually guilt trip people, or are we going to be, like I was saying, more empathetic and more, encouraging from a positive perspective instead of, you're not following
Mm.
Maharishi, Krishna hates you, our acharyas hate you, Prabhupada hates you, your guru hates you, we all hate you. Now do you feel better and encouraged to follow Akadashi or what?
And I think it's funny because yeah, it's this whole study of Shastra that you're mentioning. It's very important because again, if these devotees in positions of power were actually realized in the Shastra, or they would, if they would be in that position where we think they are, pure devotee status, they wouldn't be behaving like that. It's so easy, because a pure Vaishnava doesn't. I mean, it's clear, and a pure devotee does not uh, behave like that. He behaves with compassion, empathy. Um, you understand what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
it
yeah. It's like, go ahead.
yeah. It's just an easy way to see, like, oh, this person, I respect this person, and I know he's served the movement and served um, his guru for a long time. He's given his whole life or his whole savings or his whole, yeah, everything to the whatever, and I respect him for that. But right now, I know that this doesn't serve me, and we don't have to be assholes. Also, like, understand that this person also has his or her limitations, and we can move forward, not having their association anymore, which is what I spoke on that episode, of rejecting and accepting in a spiritual life, is something that it's not just in the beginning that we're just meant to reject everything that is not Krishna conscious, but when we enter into the Krishna consciousness world, there are also things that we have to reject and accept if we want to move forward.
You're amazing. That's such a good point. That's such a good point about, yeah, accepting and rejecting, not just like, okay, now I've rejected materialistic society. Now I'm
Yeah,
just completely fine in Krishna consciousness and this ISKCON Sangha or whatever Sangha, and I don't need to accept or reject anything else. That's such a good point. And, also what you were just saying about, yeah, having a solid footing and understanding Shastra, like how then you can just see things like, okay, this person's acting like that, or this Sangha's like that, or this is happening in this place. And I don't need to hate it, but I can just see it for what it is.
exactly.
They're
Just yeah,
they're externally a senior devotee, but internally they might still be a Kanishta. And that's okay. I don't have to hate them, but I can just see it what it is, and then I'm not invested in treating them like they're a senior devotee. I came to this movement and, senior devotees treated me like shit. And they did like this, and I don't believe in God or Krishna or Sadhusanga anymore because this is what I got from it. But the reality of the matter is, well, potentially their understanding of what a sadhu is, who a Vaishnava is, and who Krishna is maybe not so correct,
yeah,
which is okay. But then the burden then comes on, well, did we understand Shastra properly? Is it really a problem with this person or this movement or God himself, or is it my understanding of it?
yeah.
You know, does that make sense, or is
Because
it?
yeah, because it's such a good point, because I mean, I've heard so many devotees label everything as sadhu sangha, like, oh, if there's 2 or 3 devotees chanting Hare Krishna, it's sadhu sangha, and I mean, uh, yeah, but it's like, we shouldn't take things too superficial, too light, just justify everything as sadhusanga. But
Mm.
we just have to uh, be able to have our own what's
Discrimination,
discrimination, yeah,
understanding.
to understand. Like, to me, like, it sickens me that I'm not going to say names, but there's, for example, there's a known uh, child abuser who fell down from his position many years back. He got like he didn't get kicked out. Okay, we shouldn't kick people out. We should be merciful. Whatever. Okay, cool. But then why do you reinstall this person as a Bhagavatam speaker? You know, you see him sitting at the temple giving lectures. Why? So why are we so merciful to him?
Hmm.
And he's done abominable acts, you know, and then we go back to this verse in the Bhagavad Gita that we're like, okay, you know, even if the person is chanting Hare Krishna, you know, if he's committed the sinful, whatever, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he should still be considered a devotee, right?
yeah.
In so many cases, the thing is that it's not an isolated case. They are, you know, known child abusers, people that have stolen thousands of dollars from the institution to fund their trips to whatever. So many things. And whenever we want, like, our idea as a society, right? The idea of compassion is, let me reinstate this person as the leader he or she was 20, 40 years ago. But
Mm.
if I make a mistake, which is less abominable, say that I don't know, it can be from I ate onion garlic, I drank tea, I ate chocolate, I didn't come to the Bhagavatam class, I didn't follow Ekadashi. Um, you know, you're immediately labeled. You are like you're ready to be blacklisted, kicked out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 exactly. It's horrible. And again, like, what's the better thing? Someone eats chocolate and we absolutely grill the shit out of them to the point that they're like, I hate God now because these people who are meant to represent God are abusing me. Or do we, okay, you're eating chocolate or you're doing this or you're eating onion and garlic. Okay, we all have our stuff that we're dealing with that might not be the higher standard. Okay, but
Exactly. Like just briefly, somebody asked me, you know, I'm unable to eat onion garlic because my parents are non-devotees, and you know my friends are
mm,
non-devotees, and of course
mm,
the obvious answer would be like, you know, it's bad, and you got to associate only with devotees, right? Okay, because the Shastra says
mm,
that. Cool, but I wanted to give a personal association to this individual, right? And I'm like, okay, I needed to understand why. You know, aren't you able to is it like your parents need to eat onion garlic all the time, can't offer, no, I can't offer it because it's onion garlic, etc. So I said, okay, why don't you do what I did, because I grew up with non-devotee parents. So I was like, you know, I every time I was coming from school, on the way home I would buy a little apple, a little banana, whatever, and I kept my Radha Krishna picture like hidden in my room, and I would just offer that, you know, with little nuts and whatever, you know, because I mean, Krishna doesn't need your chapatis and sabjis and dals, you know. Krishna has everything,
yeah,
you know. But it's
yeah,
that offering of love that you're thinking, like, think about it. Okay, you're probably going to go home and eat onion garlic because your mom cooked, right? Cool. But you remember Krishna on the way from wherever you are, in my case from school, and I was like, Krishna, man, I can't offer more than this, but hey, here's an apple, I thought of you, you know. And
yeah,
what's worst, what's better, you know? It's like, you can't follow the temple standard, um so what?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like our we also have so many examples of our, I mean, Srila Prabhupada, but also even it's just, from Shastra when Narada Muni found who was the hunter that he couldn't stop killing. And he encouraged him to chant Ram's name. And he's like, I didn't even want to do that. So he told him to start chanting Mara instead of Rama. What's that pastime?
Is it
And there's a hunter,
Valmiki Muni?
potentially, yeah, because he like became like a sadhu after that or
Yeah,
something
like
like that.
Mara,
Some
Mara,
Brahmin.
Mara, Mara, and then he became Rama. Yeah,
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 so it's
yeah.
like
Or
he
Murgari.
couldn't
I
give
can't
up.
remember.
Yeah,
Murgari.
there is something like that though, right? There's some pastime like that, or am I thinking this up in my
Yeah,
head?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So like, yeah, so it's like he couldn't give it up. So Narada Muni didn't just go, oh well, to hell with you, you're screwed now. he, in one sense, tried to like almost like, and he encouraged him, but almost like tricked him as well. And then you see Prabhupada when there's one that I always think of when someone was like they couldn't give up wine or something. One
Yeah.
reporter Prabhupada was or some interview or something like that. And then Prabhupada was encouraging like, okay, well then when you drink wine because you like it so much, just think like, oh, I'm enjoying this so much. It's like the enjoyment is Krishna or like remember Krishna. Somehow or other, remember Krishna. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like the idea was like he was encouraging, oh, you can't give it up. Then remember Krishna when you're drinking it. So it's like there's the way I see it. It's like okay, someone's attached to it. Well, at least amidst your attachment, do your best amidst that. Like remember Krishna or somehow or other. Like keep chanting or somehow or other. Keep reading, even if you're doing this or that or that or whatever it is. Please just try and remember Krishna, or to whatever capacity you can. Like do your
I
best.
think that's how I remember my uh my first steps into Krishna consciousness. Like I think I was blessed by meeting devotees that were really personal. I mean, I'm still in touch with this devotee, the first devotee who put a dhoti on me and put tilak on me and neck beads and all that,
Wow.
and he never judged me and he knew everything about me and I was able to open up to like he was a friend and he was
Wow.
in charge of it was like 4 or 5 of us when we joined and we were all like kids and but I think I mean it's a whole other topic but I think maybe the reason why he didn't judge us was because he also had a tough life and
Mhm.
whatever. I don't want to bring that up, but the point
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
judging without context. It's like another point in connection to guilt is that it comes from the institutional side is that there's this whole shame on you culture that shame presumes, and I was telling you about this on WhatsApp, like it presumes judgment without context. Like there's this
Hmm.
like the external pressure, it's more important. The external pressure of becoming pure or become like the speaker, basically. Like if you're speaking to a brahmachari, or if you're opening up yeah, your mind to this leader, like it's oh, you're not like me, therefore I need to school you into becoming like me. And therefore, because you're not like me, therefore you deserve this judgment. And then there's the whole conflicts with expectations and that may or may not be justified. Like I have this friend who um he he has this desire to get find a partner and get married, right? And cool dude, no problems, nothing, and he's trying his best to be Krishna conscious. But he is
Hmm.
not the temple person. Like he's not the ashram dude. Like he's gonna shave his head and join. Like he has his karmi life. If you want to, he has a job and he has a normal life, right? So thinking
Yeah.
that the best approach was to,
Exactly. In other words, he's a normal person. He's just a normal person in the world.
gosh, don't get me started. It's a whole trigger. But anyway, let's go back to that story. That guy, he thought it was a good idea to approach a brahmachari to ask. I don't know why, but whatever. I mean, he learned his lesson now, but he thought it was a good idea to just approach this brahmachari for relationship advice. Because all these dudes, all they do is
Ah,
like promote their relationship courses on Instagram. That's all they do. Like
because
relationship.
there's have so much experience in the field,
Oh,
obviously, which is why they're brahmacharis. Jesus.
because we've been so burned by the material world, and women are Maya, Prabhu.
It's got
So
nothing to
he
do with me and my desires. It's all
that,
them. Anyway.
so he made the great decision of speaking with his brahmachari about uh, his condition. Like, hey, dude, I want to get married, and I can't find a particular devotee, suitable partner. Sorry, etc.
Hmm.
And this brahmachari, instead of, I mean, what? Oh, whatever. The whole thing is that the brahmachari was like, basically, this is your sign this is Krishna's telling you through me that you should become a brahmachari because you're this this age, you're already old and you're not gonna find a partner. And like he's
You're already
basically,
old?
yeah, like he started making him feel bad for having that desire.
Sorry, how old is he? 30.
Something I can't remember, but probably about my age, and I'm
Around
yeah,
30.
yeah,
Uh, way
yeah,
too old, of
yeah,
course.
well, of
Ripe,
course, yeah,
ripe age for sannyas.
yeah.
Ripe age for sannyas. My God.
So it's like it might sound funny now, but he was quite traumatized that encounter.
Yeah, understandably, fair enough. I mean, yeah, it's just yeah, all of this. It's all the stories I hear from you, and all the experiences I've had myself hearing from other people as well. It just highlights a lack of personalism, lack of sensitivity, and a lack of understanding of Shastra and development of discrimination. And I just feel like those things, if those were addressed, that could, I'm not saying it will solve all situations, but it could help a lot for sure. What do you think about that?
Definitely, it's like, oh gosh, it's very complicated because it's there's the institutional side and our side. Because also, like, I would never approach a brahmachari who has this question, right? But maybe
Yeah.
we're because, yeah, I mean, maybe we've been brainwashed also into thinking that everybody that knows more than us, institutionally speaking, or they have a better position, or they're dressed in a particular color, or they are my guru. Um, they have the authority to just tell me how to live my life in every single aspect. When I made a video on Instagram about it, like, how is it so weird? I find that we approach our gurus or sannyasis about material issues, like, oh, my wife said, my daughter wants to marry this person. Like, these devotees are not there for that. And because maybe
Yeah.
we as a congregation have fueled these individuals with, or yeah, fill them with these questions. It's just a very unhealthy circle, because then it puts people in positions of power, with, or it gives them more power. It's a whole thing. I don't think we're going to find the answer right now, but um,
Yeah. It's a
because
good point
yeah,
though. Like,
yeah, yeah.
sorry,
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 sorry.
sorry, sorry.
No,
Go
no, no.
ahead.
Go on, go on, go on, go
No,
on.
you. I think it's well, no, it's a good point. Like, just why would where do you see that anywhere else? Like, if I want to learn about, I don't know, chemistry, why would I go to? Why, if I want to study chemistry, why would I go into an English classroom and expect to get
Exactly.
proper information?
But that's the
You
thing.
know?
It's so simple to understand. If you put it in the material context, you wouldn't go to an
Yeah.
English teacher to learn anything else than English, right? Why,
Yeah.
why is it like different? Like, why do we think it's the spiritual society is different?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's yeah, like I'll go to a sannyasi and get perfect advice on how to please my wife. I'll go to a sannyasi and figure out how to have a happy griha, you know?
Yeah.
Like it makes no sense at all to me, but yeah, yeah, like you're saying, we see it
But
again and again and again.
but at the same time, if the institution, like the upper ranks, right, they are supposedly more qualified than us, then they should guide us with the right conception and telling us what's to be done and what's not to be done, right? But instead, because maybe they're also, and again, that's a whole nother kind of worms, that these people have been placed in these positions, but they're still struggling with their own issues, right? But before we get into that, yeah, I just want to keep it on the institutional side as the judgment without context. It's the what you're saying, the lack of personality and this whole like shaming culture that that I just don't get, and I don't have an answer right now. But it's just so puzzling. Like, this in the story of the brahmachari, he could have just asked him, like, okay, why do you want to get married? Why is it that you're having troubles? Uh, maybe you're looking for the wrong partner. I don't know.
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, and I mean that brings up a whole other thing for me, reflecting on humility. Like, do we have the humility to tell people that are coming along, like, actually, I don't know. I don't know how to answer your question. I don't know how to deal with this thing. It's not my point of expertise. Maybe go to this person. But then we actually see that in our institution, you know, maybe not now so much, but definitely at least back in the day, like, you know, all the answers and everything we have are in the institution, you know, everything we need is here, but actually maybe not. Maybe we should have encouraged people to go to, again, God forbid, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Maybe we should have encouraged devotees to go to Srila Puri Maharaj because they were the most qualified Gaudiya Vaishnavas that we had the chance to associate with at that time. But because of our lack of humility, no, 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 we know everything.
We know everything.
We have
Everything is
everything fine.
perfect here.
Our
Yeah.
institution is perfect. Yeah, my ashram's perfect. I'm a perfect brahmachari. I'm a perfect sannyasi. I know everything. No need to go outside or this person that, they might seem qualified. They might have even been, Prabhupada might have even told on multiple occasions that we should go to them, but,
We
I
just
know better than
casually,
Prabhupada.
yeah, we just got, and that's the whole thing that I was talking in the beginning. It's the whole, we casually take this part and not the other. And when it comes to judging certain situations, like what was I saying, that, oh, if it's a big leader who falls down, oh, we just send them to Mayapur, go live in Vrindavan and give a lecture there. Anyways, people will respect you. It's okay if you fell down and
Mhm.
you abused hundreds of children. But if
Mhm.
it's you or me that falls down, it's like, you're the worst person ever. So where is the connection? Why, and again, that's one point. The second point is the whole lack of humility, and I really like to address that. And uh shit, it's like just that little action of recognizing that we don't know, we don't have all the answers, and we can point you to this particular Vaishnav, not just in that example of the brahmachari, but the example also of pointing Vaishnavas to, go, you can hear from Srila Sridhar Maharaj about this, or from Srila Narayan Maharaj about this, or from Srila Puri Maharaj about that, because I don't have all the
Mhm.
answers, and that's okay, because this is, you're here, and this is, I can give you till here.
Yeah.
And that's what a Vaishnav should do. Like, a real Vaishnav is humble, and understand his, where he's at and what he can give. Like, I mean,
We
that
can't
would,
give what we don't have.
exactly,
So it's
exactly.
going to become obvious anyway at a certain point, whether people are willing to say that they can give more or less. It's just going to become obvious anyway, you know. I think again, this point of discrimination based on our understanding of Shastra, I mean, if any devotees are listening to this, please read Nectar of Instruction, or there's so many commentaries on by qualified Vaishnavas on Rupa Goswami's Sri Upadeshamrita that can help this point of discrimination. And even Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote a book, I think it's called Bhakti Aloka, and it's his commentary on the first few verses on Upadeshamrita.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
speaks about these principles favorable and unfavorable for bhakti, and then premising it also with, all these different things that are favorable and unfavorable. Actually, there's certain application for renunciates and certain application for those that are, grihastas and more in the world.
Yeah, it's funny.
So we,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that, because you gave me a copy. Remember, of that Bhakti
Oh, yeah.
Aloka? Yeah, yeah. And that was, I read a few pages, and I just came through it briefly, and I got the inspiration to write, and sorry, not to write, to speak on that podcast episode about accepting and rejecting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
it's
it's,
yeah, it's
sorry, you go ahead.
yeah, it's just important to know where we're at, because if we um if we believe that we're supposed to be in this position, right, we'll just not only feel guilty for not being able to follow the standards that are required from that position, but then we will be victimized as well. We will be taken
Yeah,
advantage of if we don't know how to
yeah, and
discriminate properly. Yeah.
and that's a very scary position to be in, to be under the thumb of people that potentially don't even have our best interests at heart. But we 100% are convinced that they do, based
Oh
on
God,
our
that's so
lack of
good.
lack of understanding of Shastra. It's such a, because then everything's at stake. We might leave the movement, and then okay, next life, maybe if we're lucky, who knows? Maybe next 100 lifetimes. I mean, I was just talking to you about this before, and about just how we were just touching on it, how important it is and how special it is that people that come to this movement. I think sometimes we forget about how harsh the world is when we're in our Sangha bubble, which is in one sense not such a bad thing. If we're in a Sangha bubble and we're completely obsessed with Krishna and only talking about Krishna and we're actually like realistically there. But if we have to, you know, actually deal with the world, it's such a heavy place. I have so many friends around me right now, who are depressed and suicidal. I have one friend last week that committed suicide. I have devotees talking to me that are going through serious depression and questioning whether they should be in the movement anymore, questioning Srila Prabhupada and questioning Krishna, you know? So we really need to be sensitive and really need to develop discrimination and really need to, just be a bit more careful, I think, with, you know, how we're approaching this and who we're associating with and how we're associating. This is coming from a perspective of, like, let's say we've been in the movement a little bit longer. We have a little bit more of an understanding of Shastra, and devotees might look up to us potentially. I'm just saying for those people, maybe be a little bit more sensitive, because it's not like if we discourage people, or if we, you know, somehow or other push people outside of the movement, or, outside of sadhu sangha, or wanting to practice anymore, it's like, it's such a shame because it's so heavy out there. Like I was saying, I can't remember if we said it before and it was being recorded or not. Just the repercussions of these things is so heavy, you know? You know, we always harp on about birth, death, disease, and old age, and how horrible the world is, and the threefold miseries, Prabhu, and all of this. But it's like, if we screw it up and fumble the ball with how we're presenting our Siddhanta, we're pushing people back into that. So it's like they've come so far of all, you know, all the births they could have taken, you know, to have a human birth, and then of all the places they could be in the world, you know, of everything they could be doing in Kali Yuga. They've
Right.
somehow or other come to this movement. They've somehow or other come to the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they've made it here. And then we fumble the ball by saying God hates you because you're not following a Kadashi. What the fuck is wrong with you people? I'm sorry. Sorry. But it's like they've come this far and then we push them away because they won't follow a Kadashi.
It's so true. It reminds me of that verse, you know, like you were saying, like with, you know, we could have taken birth anywhere else or be under any other particular movement. It reminds me of that verse, Brahmanda Brahmidekone Bhagavana Jeev, you know, like remember, like basically by divine arrangement, just paraphrasing, we meet Guru or Krishna, the devotees, and get their mercy. So all of us have a responsibility. Like if we actually want to protect the movement, remember, like, my speculation was that, okay, maybe some of these leaders act in such a way, or they're proud of being heavy because they're protecting the movement. But the movement is made of people, and it's made of communities. So we could use that energy that we're putting into smashing everybody into actually protecting our communities from any type of abuse, and recognizing that it's not by, you know, it takes a lot of, I don't know how many births it takes to just, you know, take a human birth and be in connection to Mahaprabhu's movement. You know, we could have been born in another, I mean, we were, I guess, but anyways, that's a whole nother story. But we can't be doing a lot of PR and just saying like, you're very lucky for being in this movement, therefore you have to suck it up, because you should always be grateful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we should use that, like, try to realize that, try to understand how lucky everyone is, regardless of their regardless of anything, and just treat everybody with respect, dignity, humanity, and just like what the hell, just with that verse, that principle of that divine arrangement, that we're all together in this, you know, boat.
Should
be enough.
And it's also got me thinking more along the lines of, well, what does protecting the movement actually look like at different times and places? You know, like, does protection always mean that it's got to be the heavy hand of Shastra smashing people? Or can protection also come in the sense of like tolerance and empathy and understanding, you know? Because that can potentially attract people, you know? Like,
absolutely,
I'm protecting the movement by ensuring that it actually embodies what we're trying to accomplish, which is praying.
Whoa, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of good points. We've spoken about a lot of
really good stuff here.
today.
And each of these points can be just like, we can keep unpacking everything, but
Yeah.
we can save that for another episode. We're definitely not going to run out of ideas. Right, guys, that was the end of episode 12. Thank you very much for tuning in, for watching. Let me know what you guys think, and you can drop a message on the video or hit me up on Instagram at Jivadoy Journals. I have a Telegram group that I always talk about. If you want to hear the readings of the acharyas, I try to record every day on Telegram. I'll drop the info somewhere here. And stay tuned for part 2 of this conversation with Mamu Thakur, which will probably be coming in a week or two after this one. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.